Hey guys, welcome to Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast YouTube channel. I don't know whatever we do. As you know, we do a lot of deep dives in our head and thinking before we get to our wallets. We talk about mindset a whole lot because mindset is how we figure out our finances, right? And it's not just the tactics of what policy to use or what other things that we want to accomplish. But it starts with what happens both in your heart and in your head. And as you grow, you want to impact more people. Right. And so today I get to interview somebody that has helped us. And he's not only been in the church world back in the day, his name is Carl. And now I'm going to say it wrong. Lubbe now. I said it. I don't know. It's everybody says it's different probably, but Carl, he is asks a lot of questions. That's what we do in our financial analysis. Oftentimes when I do my financial analysis with people, they say, that's a great question. And often it's just, what's your dreams and goals? And anyway, but he asks super powerful questions, especially when it comes to the most important skill that we all need, and that's people. There are people, I don't know if you know this, but there's people in your life, people in my life, and we get to rub shoulders with them all the time. And understanding how people work is important. He's a founder of Curiosity Coach, where he helps leaders, teams, and entire companies improve how they communicate, collaborate, and grow together, from scaling startups to starting global brands like Lululemon. Carl has helped organize, turn soft skills into serious results. And he has a playbook and some other things that I'll show you here in a little bit. But let's have Carl jump in. Let's talk about the people business and his whole thing of communicate. Hey, Carl, welcome. It's great to finally have you on the show. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, man, it's great to be on. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you get into the people business? I mean, literally, you're in the people business. Have you always been in the people business? Is there something else you did before?
Yeah, I guess I would jokingly say we're all in the people business, because anything you do is people first. Even if you're building widgets on a factory floor, there are other people on the assembly line with you, and so you're always doing work with people for people. But my background, honestly, first started off as a touring musician, so I did that in my 20s, and then I was leading people inside organizations in my late 20s and early 30s. And then really for the last, I'm 44 now, so really for about the last 15 years, it's been around how do I grow and develop people and their soft skills and their emotional intelligence. And then I've owned my own consulting agency for the last 5 years called Curiosity. So the whole career has always been around people, but very specifically now in the last 5 years, having something that's completely my own, where I go in and I help, people with that. Our term for this is with their peopling. Because it's hard and it's messy and it's difficult, but it's also wonderful and exhilarating and necessary and creative. And so our desire is really, we're here to help raise people's emotional intelligence and their ability to do the soft skills and to enjoy each other while they do work worth doing.
That's awesome. And I think I said your name wrong. I always say it
wrong. Listen, like you joked about, there's no one way to say it because it's in a different language. Me being from South Africa, it's in Afrikaans. And so it's pronounced Lubbe, Carl, L-I-B-B-A, Carl Lubbe.
Oh, see, there you go. I was like, I said it wrong. I knew.
No, I think you were pretty close. You got closer than most.
So you've worked with us. One of the things I think, and I've been church planter, we've run a couple businesses, and I feel like I'm pretty intuitive as being in this business. But in the early years of our marriage, we had this rule, number one rule, and in our business, and in our life, and even now, the number one rule. Do you know what it is?
I don't. I'm very, very curious to find out what your number one rule is.
Number one rule, number one, is communicate, communicate, communicate.
Mm.
And if you communicate, and we say it 3 times because you might have said it and then you said it wrong, and oftentimes it's miscommunication. It is, I thought I said this or I didn't say this. So I would say that's what you help. You're a communicator, helping people communicate. Do you see that as a challenge that you deal with in most teams, peopling, is they don't have that number one rule?
I think it's, yeah, I don't think the rule is given its priority, as you've stated, in that number one space. I think there's also a confusion that communication isn't key, comprehension is.
Mhm.
So just because you think you've said something, the latest numbers show us that it takes about 13 times communicating something until somebody else understands it to the degree that you want them to. So this is true in our marriage. It's true on our teams. It's true if you're running a business and you're trying to communicate to a prospective client as to the problem you solve and the way that you can help them. And so it's this lifelong curiosity of, well, what are they hearing? Or are they in a space to receive this? Or is this genuinely helpful to them? All of these things are critical for the comprehension part, because communicating on its own can leave you a little bit self-righteous. Well, I said it. I told you what I needed. I told you what was. But if we aren't in that curious, compassionate space to go, yeah, but is this something they need? Are they in a space to hear it? Am I communicating it enough different ways that it's increasing the possibility of them comprehending it? It's the marriage of communication and comprehension, I think, that is critical.
And then as you're thinking about that, is that whole idea, your thing is curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
How is, as I do financial analysis, I ask, what are your dreams and goals? And they say, that's a great question. I'm just curious, why do you put 12% in your 401k when they only match 4? Mm-hmm. Those are some that I just, and they're like, that's a great question. I don't know. So how did curiosity come into play for you, and how can we be more curious, and at the same time, not just with others, but with ourselves?
That's a beautiful end to the question there, Brandon. So I think curiosity has 3 places. First, it's internal, then it's local, then it's global. So internal is, how can you get curious about the things that you need in the world? So really, let me restate that. The internal space is, how do I get curious about what it is that I need? Then it's getting curious about locally, what do my partner, my kids, my friends, the people closest to me, my team at the company, what do they need? And then lastly, what does the entire organization or the community or the world need? And developing that muscle of curiosity, we think, is so important, because I think the world needs better questions, not simpler answers. Because what happens is, the more you age, the more you think you know, the more power you accumulate, the less curious people become. And it's a real tragedy. Age and experience, if used properly, should engineer more and more curiosity. Because we know from the healthiest older people that they'll go, oh, I know less now than I did before. And I'm only more curious. I'm only more interested in the world. And so for me, we've built the entire company around this, is helping leaders learn how to ask better questions. I'll give you an example of this. So if you go to a networking event, what's typically one of the first questions that you ask somebody geographically? You go, where are you from? Yep. And unless they have a very interesting answer, now I get to cheat. I live in the US. I'm from South Africa. So if I go, oh, I'm from South Africa, I either will tell me about their desire to go there, or that they've been there, or that they've wanted to go on safari. But for most people, if they're like, oh, I'm from Bentonville, Arkansas, unless you're going, oh, that's the headquarters of Walmart, that's particularly interesting to me. Most people are going, it came in one ear and out the other. And so it is a fine question. It is not a good or a great question. A better question for your next networking event would be like, hey, what's your favorite thing about where you're from? I just went from something that is geographic and statistical to something that is story driven. Now I'll typically the response that I get is the same one you got when you're asking your 401k questions. It's like, oh, that's really interesting. And then it pauses and they have to kind of collect themselves, which, by the way, is always the sign of a good question. If somebody has to think about it, it means the question is big enough that they can kind of go on a quest, which is the root word in question. Quest. So they've now gone on a quest to like, discover what's the thing that you're engaging them on. And the more and more we do that, the more connected we are and the more likely we are to lean into each other as opposed to leaning away from each other, which is, the primary part of my work is inside the workplace, inside teams and companies, executive teams and middle management. And what I'm engineering all the time is you're frustrated because you're not getting what you need. And so you lean away from your teammates or you lean away from a problem, as opposed to if we can get curious, it'll cause you to have the courage and the creativity to lean into a problem.
That's awesome. One of the things I heard too is as people have listened to our podcast and know us, one of our principles, and as our former business, is Overflow. And the principle of Overflow is your connection to a higher power, something deep, and then that'll flow into your friends and family, your community, and the world, right? And as businesses go, if I'm not right here personally, I can't flow to my family. Then that stops up to my team and then the world. And so that's kind of what you had mentioned. And as a business owner, we can't sell more widgets if we're broken on the inside somewhere, right? Whatever that is. And so the Overflow principle is something that I've thought about a lot, in that I used to use it to sell coffee. This is our old coffee shop, actually. And I used that idea, and the widget was coffee. I had a team of people that helped me do that. I still have this kind of thing, Overflow principle, but it's with finance. It's with money and with life insurance and all the things. But asking good questions is the underlying thing. And I love the quest in questioning, because that's what we call our things in our community is quests. I didn't even know that. And so that was something I was thinking about. Now, asking you about this from a faith perspective, one of my friends says that he has Renaissance time. And so they spend a lot of time reading old books and having some time thinking time. How often would you say is important for you to have that kind of time to ask yourself questions, reflecting personally?
Well, it's a very good question. And I get to cheat when it comes to this. So I would say my answer to this will be descriptive of my experience, not prescriptive to anybody else.
Yeah.
So my father passed away my senior year of high school, and I was really young for a senior. I was 16 when I graduated. And so I decided to take some time off and go back to South Africa because I didn't really know my family there anymore, the extended family. And so when people hear that, they go, "Oh, you went on an Australian walkabout," is what the Aussies call it, and then, or a gap year for most Europeans. And how exciting must that have been? You went through Cape Town and Port Elizabeth and Johannesburg, and you went to the Kruger and up to Zimbabwe. I spent 9 months couch surfing, some of the most bored I've ever been in my entire life. Because what happened, I've got a year off, but everybody else has to go to school and to work. And so I'm spending 6 and 7 hours a day by myself waiting for people to come home from work or from school. And during that period of my life, from then 17 to 18, I just got really comfortable and enjoyed the state of my own company. And so for me, that really formative experience has created now a desire to both extrovert, because I naturally enjoy people and get energy from them, but I also deeply enjoy my own company. And so for me, it's almost like it's a daily, habit. I'm not one of those people who I have lots of respect and maybe a little bit of envy for early risers who get up at 5 o'clock and they're already wide awake. I think 10 years of being a professional musician, I'm still slightly more, awake at 1 a.m. than I am at, 5 a.m. And so I just find mine as weaving it into the day in ways where it doesn't have to be an hour-long sabbatical where I'm reading the classics and getting quiet time. It's going, when I get in the car to go to my next meeting
Mhm.
now at 1 o'clock, I just won't have the radio on. I'll have the windows down, and it's just a little bit of quiet, reflective, enjoy my own company, ask a question. What am I processing? What's coming up for me? And so those have become daily attitudes. And one of the things I learned really was fortunate enough to come across really early in my spiritual formation as well is that neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually, you're wired to work from rest, not rest from work. And
Yes.
in
Yeah.
the Christian tradition, we see this, right? I mean, Eden was given first, then the work. So rest was
Yeah.
given, Sabbath was given first, and then you worked after that. But also, my brother is a functional neurologist, and so I get to steal a lot of his wisdom and his clinical knowledge. And he goes, no, like the human biology is designed that way. It's designed to rest first, create cellular development, and then strain, and then rest again, and then work from that strain. And so I think for people, it's a really good exercise to go before I go into a meeting, before I go into a season of strain. What does it look like to recover? Or not even, sorry, recovery comes later, but what does it look like to rest first and
Yeah.
then rest?
Yeah, I again, as I think about, we're on this treadmill running all the time, and then we have these great things that are amazing technology devices that ding all the time, and we don't know how to disconnect from them.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is one of those people that gets up at 5 a.m. and does all kinds of thinking time,
So impressive.
and I'm like, man, that's amazing. And she's like, when are you going to do it? I'm like, I'm trying.
Heaven, maybe? Yeah, maybe on the other side of eternity, but it's probably not happening this side.
I'm working on it, and that's something where, as we've been learning, is putting those. And I think about this as time, and those big rocks, and then the other things, and so that putting yourself first, having that time, whether it's 20 minutes in the car or an hour in the morning, doesn't matter, but making sure those things are in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the other things, teams and all that in there. Because if you have that time to reflect and ask, why am I feeling this way about this person? That might help you go into that meeting a little healthier.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
to use your word, overflow, you can't pour clean water out of a dirty cup.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I loved working with you on some of this, and just thinking about that. And as we build healthy teams, now, what have you seen the pitfalls, like, as far as, we've been working with people, we've seen that. What has been some of the things that you're like, oh, there it is again. I feel like I slayed this dragon, and it just shows up that you just see every time that it's
Yeah.
obvious to you, not
Yeah.
obvious to the rest of the world.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I'd like to tell you that there is one, but there's not. In our experience, there's seven. Seven,
Okay.
I like the idea of 7 dragons to go and slay on your quest for better questions. That could be the next book. But the ones that we will deal with fairly immediately are purpose alignment. So the whole team doesn't understand the problem that the company is trying to solve. So they're all solving for different problems. And so then that's where they get burnout because they don't know why their work matters.
Yep.
The second problem would be expectation setting. So, okay, maybe we've gotten on the same page of the problem, but we don't know who's supposed to do what. And when we don't have that clarified, you'll have 4 stages of unmet expectations. First, there's hurt, then there's frustration, then you have resentment, and eventually bitterness. And so we're trying to undo those by giving people the tools. And by the way, each one of these 7 problems, or 7 dragons to your language, all has a tool to like defeat it. So there's a literal tool that we run through expectation settings where it needs to be clear, then doable, matched, and met. And we can actually measure that, our expectation setting was at a 4 out of 10. And then after we start using the tool for a couple of weeks now, it's at a 7 or an 8 out of 10. So we can see growth and clarity coming. The next thing after that is there's conflict. Anytime you reset expectations, you're naturally going to have conflict. And so the average employee under the age of 40 is more likely to look for a new job than have a hard conversation, especially around money or raises or potential. And so it's like, well, no, hold on. The tension is good if we use it properly. So how do we teach you to have a hard conversation? And so we've got a tool for that as well. And then the fourth thing comes in when we don't know how to, clarify our language. So we've had some conflict, but what you're saying and what I'm saying isn't exactly the same. So it's that communication skill you were talking about. After which, we'll create some onboarding issues where we go, okay, we know what we're doing. We have the expectations. We've had hard conversations. We've clarified the needs. But hold on, where are we in the training process? Because you might know something really deeply and I don't know it. And so that's the onboarding or the people development. And then once you have people onboarded, they're going to have new ideas of how to do things. And so how do you run a process of idea to implementation where your ideators don't get shot down and your implementers don't get worn out?
Yeah.
And then the final thing is really this big amorphous idea of leadership development. And so that's what we see as kind of the seventh problem or the seventh dragon is leadership is really just three things. It's attention to the right problem, intention with a couple of manageable solutions, and then finally a commitment to a deadline or a result that actually changes and moves the needle on that problem. So those are really the seven things that we see most as purpose alignment, and then going straight into expectation, management, conflict, people development, clear language, ideation, and leadership.
So as you're running a business, I'm no therapist, right? And so that's the hard part is I feel like we have to be camp counselors as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And business owners, entrepreneurs are also having their own issues, right?
Sure.
Their own challenges.
They're busy being people.
Yeah, right. They're people. I have one person that said I need to change because I've learned how to be a company that's a $20 million company, and I need to turn and be a different person for $100 million company.
Yep. Yeah, what got you to 20 won't get you to 100. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how would you say as a leader that we need to communicate with this, and knowing that also being open, knowing that things may shift? How do you deal with that, knowing that, hey, this was good for a 10-person team, but at a 30-person team, everything needs to shift?
Yeah, I think it really is growing your curiosity. You had a certain curiosity that got you to 20 million. It will require a different curiosity around both people and process to get to 100 million. And this is where we focus. We focus on both parts of that because we think there's really four critical P's to having a for-profit company. First, it's a purpose. What problem do you solve in the world? The next thing is the people who are drawn to that specific purpose. Then it's the process that supports those people in solving that problem. And then fourthly, it's the profit that is then drawn to that particular problem being solved. And so if you can re-examine that four-part framework for 20 million as opposed to 100 million, you're going to need a larger purpose to get from 20 million to 100. Other than just the $80 million delta between 20 and 100. That's not an interesting enough problem for A players to be attracted to. But once you're able to communicate that and clarify that, then those sorts of people will be drawn to it. But then also your leadership of those sorts of people will have to adjust because the players that will take you from 20 to 100 million are different than those that took you from 0 to 20. So how do you have the hard conversation with your existing people to go, hey, are you wanting to grow in this direction? Or were you only interested in a company of this size? And do we either need to find you a different place within the organization, or do we need to help you find a different organization who's solving a different problem for this next season of your professional life? And that takes a lot of curiosity and compassion to go, I want to have this conversation. I don't want to just assume that either you're good enough and want to go, or you're not good enough, so you need to get off, or some combination of those two things. Yeah. And then the third part of this is we also then work on, this is why we created tangible tools. It's to fix the process. Because process, not people, are the problem. And process, not people, are the solution. So as soon as we create a framework that your 100 million kind of people can be in, now they need to rest on a foundation of processes that can serve them getting from 20 to 100 million. And then what I tell people, oddly enough, is you just have to have the fortitude to wait for the profit to come to you. Because once you're fixing the right problem with the right kind of people and processes, it's wild how profit just starts to take care of itself. But if you chase the fourth thing, profit first, at the expense of process and people and purpose, it's amazing how profit will just start to run from you. So it's this difference of, can I build something at scale that feels safe and stable to both people and profit? Then they'll be drawn to me. If I'm chasing both of those things, they will constantly run from me.
Now you mentioned, and I think it's a different kind of profit first, right? Where people are, I'm a profit first certified individual, right? Client.
Right.
And so when you said profit before people, or that can be damaging, right? And so, but at the same time, this is why I love profit first, and why this is such a powerful thing is, most business owners, especially small business owners, they're last to get paid. They're last to take care of them. And you are a person. You are one of those people, not just your team, but you. Right. Yep. And so by putting those priorities in place and those foundations in place, you're able to ask the right questions. Having a good financial process is why I love infinite banking, is by having the financial framework. I then can say, okay, here's the process, the financial process. And if we do the right things as far as in the game plan book, and we follow that, that'll help lead. But then it changes. It has to change because percentages change. Right. You're not going to make, if you're making 100 million, you're not going to make 50% profit, or not profit, but 50% owner's pay. It's going to change because you have more teams. Yeah, you have to pay more.
And this is where we talk about expectations are experiments. So with all expectations, they're changing all the time, and we're not re-examining them and resetting expectations often enough. So like you said, when the percentages on the revenue or the profit change, well, that should indicate, oh, the experiment is altered either slightly or greatly, and we need to re-examine the expectation, which means we need to reset the experiment. And so, to your exact point, I too am a proponent of profit first in terms of paying ownership, or paying the founders or the leaders, because even in that micro example, right, they started with a purpose, then they were the person, then they created a process to go and garner revenue, and then now there's profit. And even at a micro level, at a lemonade stand, like, it went from idea and problem to solution and profit within an afternoon. Well, you should get the first returns on that profit in order to feel stable in yourself, to then attract players around a bigger purpose, around new, greater processes to go drive more profit. And so those things to me are mutually inclusive.
Yeah, I think that's again, I as I was talking to you, I'm like, he's the people guy, we're the finance guy. You work together, and if you understand the 80-20 rule, or the other rules of like not spending on stupid stuff, like a lot of times business owners are doing that. Your biggest resource is your people. Look at any business, it's either rent or payroll, or both. And payroll, and if you train somebody and then all of a sudden they're gone after a year, because all that costs a lot of money. And so how have you seen with that, and this kind of may go off a little bit, with the invention of AI, all this chat GPT stuff and everything else, though sometimes the people part is like, well, I don't need to talk to a person because I got Siri and Claude and everything else now. How have you seen that shift for you and your business just in the past, I don't know, 6 months?
Yeah. So like you said, the advent of all things AI is just the newest widget. It's the newest tool in my mind. And so I coach executives and founders every day. And one of the things that I'm telling them is, this is not the end of people. It's the new tool to integrate with people. And so even in our work, we talk about, we train people how to people. And what we're adding now to that is, we're training people in the age of AI. Because they will be integrating with AI, and it's not an either or, that you will either be good at people stuff or you will be good at AI stuff. It's a both and. You will have to continue to invest in your peopling skills, because that will actually get exponentially more costly. because people are looking at AI and going, oh, this will eradicate the need for, I guess, any humans in my team. It may eradicate the need for some basic tasks, but the way you should be thinking about that is if I can take my administrator, AI is not to replace them, it's to make them 100 times more productive. And so if I'm peopling them well and helping them set great expectations and understand the conflict and ideating around this and developing them and creating great leadership skills in them, all of a sudden you don't have one administrator, you have 50 or 100. These other tools have increased their output by a force factor of 10. And so the things that we're seeing now is a lot of anxiety for smaller and mid-sized companies on being able to keep up with that. And so one of the things we're talking about is hiring automations specialists and AI subject matter experts. And so we've even in my company, I'm not an automations or an AI expert. So what did I do? I partnered with other people who are. And so even in our company, they're going, oh, we're having a problem with our 90-day reviews, or people aren't performing as well as they would. Should we replace them with AI? And then we go in and we basically do an audit of, well, what are you doing inside the company? Oh, well, they're not performing because the expectations are unclear, not because you should be replacing them with AI. And in other places, it's going, they're doing some very manual tasks that you're overpaying them for, where we could partner them with an AI agent to be able to do that sort of thing. And so our experience in the last 6 months, and I think it'll be our experience for the next at least 50 years that I do this work, is it will heavily be about how do you train EQ, because that's only getting more expensive. Emotional intelligence, people with people, while IQ gets drastically cheaper, because I don't need somebody's particular data subject matter expertise. I need their wisdom, their consultation. How does this work in the real world? And those things will only be, I think, increased by our ability to do them at scale with things like AI.
I've been thinking a lot about this and using it for tools like again, profit first and infinite banking. How do I make it easier using that? And I've used the tool actually to do just customer feedback, right? Now, what's interesting is you mentioned back in the day. This is in the Wayback Machine in 1995. Remember, way back when? Way back.
Yeah.
There was no
14 years old.
Yeah, right. There was no computers, right? And then all of a sudden, between 96 and 2000, we have this device that we're talking through that everybody has, and these smartphones. That 5 years changed everything.
Everything. The whole planet.
Everything. And a lot of people were resistant, business owners. Some of them were like, yeah, it's just a fad. But it was what took over. And I believe that we're in that age of AI where there's a chasm happening. And as business owners, if we aren't trying to playing with it to learn how we can use it, or have people that know how to use the technology side, that's important. But as you said, nothing replaces the emotional intelligence and all that. I think that's why it's so much more important to dive into that stuff and to understand that people are people. We still have the same issues sometimes, whether you were in the Roman times or today. And some of it's remotely like, I want to have purpose. I want to have a reason to be doing things. Same thing as back in the day. So I love that. I think that's, again, why we can get along so well, is because it's not just about the numbers. It's about asking good questions and continuing. And it's using technology to help make it faster. But in the end, we have to sit with ourselves and ask ourselves good questions.
Right.
I want to share your website here because I love sharing websites, because here's the thing. Oftentimes, most people like brick and mortar coffee shops, they don't go in to the coffee shop because they're afraid they're going to get zapped, because it wasn't like the Starbucks that they went into before.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we never go into new weird places.
And they make a Frappuccino. Am I ordering it wrong? Can I go in here?
Can I do the same thing that?
Can you guys do the thing that I'm used to? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens all the time. I swear. So As you guys are working, and I work with a lot of business owners, a lot of times they will complain about their people, but they don't invest in the things that will help them grow in their people skills. And so, guys, as you're listening, this is something that you as a leader should invest in, because your greatest asset is your people. They make the widgets happen. So anything
Brandon,
you want to show on this?
this be a fun question for you. How much do you think it costs a business owner when they lose a talented person on their team?
Depends. I would say at least 30 or 40,000, probably, because of the cost of training.
Yeah, training, getting somebody, again, lost productivity. The conservative math these days is 2.5 times their yearly salary. So if you're paying somebody 100,000, that's $250,000 loss. And so we go in there to say, listen, we're going to help you retain great talent. We're going to help you attract great talent. And we're also going to help everybody have more fun and be more efficient in the work that they're doing and add purpose to that thing. And so our bottom line kind of promise is to 10x anybody's investment with us.
I think that's huge. If you guys didn't hear that, 10x your investment. If your people are working, they learn the tools and they can become more both efficient and stick around. That is ginormous, right? So walk me through what is here that you want to say, hey, these guys need to click on this thing on this page. Why would they go to this website?
Yeah. So at some point there should be a pop-up that gives you one of our free playbooks. So it'll kind of help you understand the work that we're doing around conflict and expectation setting and ideation, all that stuff. The quickest way, obviously, to get any help from us would be just to schedule one of those free sessions where we can ask some questions. Hey, what's the presenting problem? Maybe we can help, maybe we can't help. But if we can't help, we should be able to direct you into somebody else who's better at the thing that you're up against. But 9 times out of 10, we can probably help if it's a people issue. And then when you're going down, if you need it, you can see the clients we work with. And then obviously kind of our philosophy, there's me in a silly suit. And
do you wear that all the time?
I do not. That's was put on for Mr. Jeremy Cowart, who was kind enough to take my pictures. And funny enough, he's photographed Taylor Swift and a bunch of other much cooler people. So he was kind enough for buddies to take my picture. And then down here, you'll see from some of the other people we've worked with, what they've said has been helpful to them. So these are the 7 skills that we help around. And then if you keep on going down, you'll see what other people have said about their work with us as well. And then at the bottom, you'll just, again, get to see how we work and grab your free strategy session.
Cool. And if you guys didn't know, if you go to our website, I'm going to show you this website. I'm sure you guys have been there. This website was built by, I believe, probably the same person.
Yeah, and yours is prettier than mine, which makes me mad, Brandon. Like, I'm going to have to get their team to redo mine now, because every time I see yours, I'm like, man, I did a good job with helping you create the brand profile, but they did an even better job on executing your site. So I guess I need a refresh.
Yeah, I'm always working, but it's getting more. My thing now is traffic. I got to get more people to it, because how to build it. But this is, again, if you look at that and you say, wow, that looks very familiar. Well, because there's a guy that your brother that helped build both, I believe.
Yeah, he's the best guy I know in the business. So if you need a website built, you can also email me or Brandon. We can put you in touch with Driftwood Creative, because they do a great job with these things.
Awesome. Well, let me just stop this here. Anything that you want to leave our listeners with that you say, I forgot to say this. I want to make sure I hit this that I did not ask.
Yeah. Your number one job as a leader is clarity. And if you don't find it, and then if you don't give it to other people, all you're doing is creating ambiguity. And our, kind of one of our core tenets is clarity creates connection and ambiguity creates anxiety. And so your job as a leader is to reduce anxiety, first for yourself, then your team, then the organization, then the client, and the industry, in that order. And so if you're having trouble finding that clarity, you need to, get in touch with somebody like Brandon if it's around financial ambiguity. If it's around people or brand, you can get in touch with somebody like me, or you can go read a book or listen to a podcast. But I would encourage you to take action around clarifying anything that you have anxiety about. And the beauty of that is anxiety becomes this great check engine light. If you're going, oh, I feel anxious about this, this, or this, I tell people all the time, write down the things that you're worried about. And then what you'll notice is, oh, well, immediately Carl said, anxiety is created by ambiguity. Something's unclear. How do I get greater clarity over my people, my brand, my finances, the product? How do I get, more lead flow to my website? Somebody out there has an answer to the thing that is unclear. It is clear to somebody else. And
Yep.
my job as a leader is not necessarily to become a subject matter expert at everything, but rather it's to find the people to partner with in order to get that clarity. Because if I don't, then anxiety continues, and then I want to do the job less. Other people around me want to do their work less. Everybody suffers. But when I get clarity and increase that connection both to myself and each other, it becomes now work worth doing because we understand both why it's important and how to do it. And so it's about asking those better questions. Who knows this thing that I need to get clearer on, and how do I get close to them?
Awesome. Well, that's a mic drop there. Like I've said before in this podcast, if you confuse, you lose. That is Donald Miller.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where being clear about your finances, being clear about your people, being clear about your mission. And again, as we run through life, things kind of clutter up, and everyone has a plan for your money, your time, everything. And so having that quiet time is important too. So with that, thanks, Carl, for being here. I know it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Guys, don't forget, hit that like, subscribe, write a comment there. If you have a question for Carl, put it in the comments. I know how to get a hold of him. So, of course, what you should do, not just write a comment, but schedule a 15-minute call with him. That would be good.
Yeah, and ours is easy. It's just you go to getmorecurious.com.
Yeah, getmorecurious.com. And with that, guys, we will see you next time. Thanks for being here, and looking forward to our next interview or something coming up. And watch the next video coming up.